Number 60, plant manager. We could greatly reduce the amount of sulfur dioxide our copper smelting plant releases into the atmosphere by using a new process. The new process requires replacing our open furnace with closed ones and moving the copper from one furnace to the next in solid, not molten form. However, only is the new equipment expensive to buy and install, but the process also costs more to run than the current process because the copper must be reheated after it has cooled. So overall, adopting the new process will cost much more but bring the company no profit. Supervisor, I agree with your overall conclusion, but disagree about one point you make, since the latest closed furnaces are extremely fuel efficient. Okay, the plant manager's argument is most vulnerable to criticism on which one of the following grounds? Well, initially, my first thought was the plant manager says that adopting the new process will cost much but bring the company no profit, but doesn't really show any proof for the fact that they will have like very little new profit, right? What if the new process for the copper for whatever reason sells more? Maybe that's not that realistic actually because it's the same product overall. Let's see. Let's just look at the answer choices. A, the overall conclusion is about a net effect, but it's based solely on evidence about only some of the factors that contribute to that effect. Okay, so the supervisor is pointing out an additional factor that the plant manager never considered. So A sounds okay to me. Let's check out B. The support for the overall conclusion is the authority of the plant manager rather than any independently verifiable evidence. Okay, we never talk about the authority of the plant manager, right? We never say, well, he's, the expert on this, or he has more authority than other people in being able to say these things. So I think we can cross out B for that reason. The plant manager never really talks about himself. So that's another reason to know that B is not a good option. C, the overall conclusion reached merely repeats the evidence offered. I don't think it merely repeats the evidence offered because they say overall the process will cost more and give a bunch of specific ways it costs more, right? So I don't think it's C. The evidence is far more specific than the overall conclusion and is giving different ways it's going to cost more. D, evidence that is taken to be only probably true is used as the basis for a claim that something is definitely true. Okay, so, they're saying that new equipment is definitely more expensive, right? And they're saying that, it requires replacing things and, moving things. So I don't think they ever said, something is only probably true. That language was never used. For this to be true, they'd have to say that some things were probably true, and the conclusion would have to say definitely true. But here the evidence and the conclusion is in line, and both of them indicate that something is definitely true. Let's look at E. Facts that are not directly relevant to the argument are treated as if they support the overall conclusion. Okay, are all the facts used by the plant manager directly relevant to the conclusion? Because the conclusion is that adopting the new process will cost more, but they're not going to actually make more money off of it because they're producing the same thing. It's just they're using a new process, right? So all the evidence directly supports that, I think, because their evidence is, hey, this requires replacing our furnaces. The new equipment is expensive to buy and install. The process costs more. It's all directly relating to that conclusion. So I don't think E is true. All the facts that are given, all the evidence that's given does directly support the overall conclusion. The first sentence is just really saying, well, this could help the environment. But I guess that part doesn't. Let's see. But that's not being treated as if it supports the conclusion. They're just saying that's why it could matter to use this new process. So our answer here would have to be A. And A is the case, right? Because the supervisor is pointing out, well, did you consider the fact that the closed furnaces are really fuel efficient? We're going to save fuel, so that's going to save us some money, right? So maybe the new process doesn't actually have to cost more. Maybe we save so much fuel that the new process earns its the money doesn't matter over time, like it'll even out over time maybe. So we have evidence for A, even from just what the supervisor said, right? There's a point that the plant manager didn't consider that the supervisor is pointing out. So that would be a factor that contributes to the effect, and the plant manager never really took it into account.